Yes, The Wasteland and Holomin, they are works which reflect the Holocaust, or let us say the rising complexities that were created due to the World War and the rise of modernism. So, both of them, they speak of the sterility of the place that is London and the people that faced the kind of,
Suffered
yes,
the Holocaust, yes.
and the style also remains that of, I'd say, where there is no faith, where there is no optimism, and everything appears to Eliot as wasteland.
Gloomy.
Yes.
Yes, if you look at the screen, then you find that for the Wasteland you have written the most influential poetic work of the 20th century.
Yes.
Uh,
This is in 1922, and again, I would say that a phenomenal thing happened in 1922 when even Darwin published his theory of evolution, where the faith in God and religion was shattered, and people were in disorder, in anarchy, and the anxiety
yes, very true, very true.
that had come up, and so it is very much reflected in the works of Eliot.
Okay. So, Prufrock and other observations in 1917, The Wasteland 1922, The Hollow Man 1925, Aerial Poems 1927, Ash Wednesday 1930, Four Quartets 1935, Murder in the Cathedral 1935, and Family Reunion 1939. I think these two last works, Murder in the Cathedral and Family Reunion, are drama.
Yeah, they are dramas, and they in fact carry the beliefs of Eliot towards the later phase of his life, where he has changed his outlook towards religion and his religious beliefs. So
Okay.
his strong inclination towards Christianity is very much visible in Murder in the Cathedral and the Family Reunion.
Yes, please, ma'am. I think we are supposed to look at T.S. Eliot's contribution to literary criticism. As a literary giant, he was okay and has been awarded with due proportion. But his contribution to the field of literary criticism is also a huge one. So now let us look at the presentation about his contribution to literary criticism. His literary criticism falls largely into three groups. Some essays are on theoretical criticism, particularly the principles of criticism about poetry, about drama, about language, and other things. The second portion of his essays falls into category of essays on practical criticism, and the third portion related to theological essays. Now let us look at the three portions one by one. His theoretical essays consist Tradition and the Individual Talent, which came in 1919, The Function of Criticism 1923, The Use of Poetry and the Use of Criticism 1933, What's a Classic 1944, The Frontiers of Criticism 1956. Friends, let me clear here that we are going to discuss these things later on, but prior to that, Tradition and the Individual Talent, the first essay T.S. Eliot wrote in 1919, which focuses on lot of things, which gave a path-breaking view for literary critics. Later on, it is believed to be the new criticism, modernism, etc. So we shall discuss it afterwards. But now let us look at the second portion of his essays, which cover practical criticism. These essays are the metaphysical poets, and there are certain individual essays on Dante, Dryden, Andrew Marvell, Ezra Pound, W.B. Yeats, and Rudyard Kipling. And his theological essays are related to his ideas about theology and religion. You are familiar with the things that he converted himself to Anglicanism. So, Lancelot Andrewes came in 1926, The Idea of Christian Society 1939, and Notes Towards the Definition of Culture, which is in 1949. These essays focus on theological aspect. His bent of mind was largely tend towards philosophy. So Eliot is in its true essence is available in these essays, but we are not supposed to discuss these things. Now let us directly move towards his contribution to literary criticism. Ma'am, it is said that in a sense every piece of literary criticism that Eliot has written from that day to this has been footnote to the essay. The essay is Tradition and the Individual Talent, which came in 1919. These words are written by John Wayne. So I humbly request Ma'am Jadeja to throw some lights on this quote and afterwards on the essay Tradition and the Individual Talent. Ma'am.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Mehta. You're right that what John Wayne has said, that everything that was written, especially in criticism after this essay, has been a kind of footnote to it, because Eliot's idea of tradition has been extraordinarily influential and the contribution a very major one. I would take it as what was the response of Eliot's essay then and now. When he wrote this essay in 1919, it was believed to be a sort of way looking back towards the past, because tradition for him was taking the past and present together. So most of the critics believe that this essay was making him look at back and not considering the individuality of the poet. But I would say that it was then looked at in a way where critics considered this essay by Eliot to a Greek monster known by the name of Chimera. Chimera is a Greek female monster where the head is of the lion, the body is of goat, and the tail is of serpent. So the essay that Tradition and Individual Talent is in 3 parts was very much compared to this Greek
yes,
mythological
I must
character.
intervene here, ma'am. You said just interesting thing that you talked about Chimero. Will you please repeat what is it and how it reflects in this essay?
Yeah, I would love to do that. Since the essay runs into 3 parts, it is probably compared with this Chimera, that is a Greek female monster, where it is Chimera, pronounced as Chimera. Chimera.
Okay. And pronounced as Chimera.
Chimera.
Okay.
This is a female monster taken from Greek mythology by Eliot in one of his poems. And the monster is supposed to have the head of lion, the body of goat, and tail of a serpent.
Oh.
And that was the
Wonderful.
then interpretation of Eliot's essay. It runs into 3 parts, and that is why probably it is compared to this kind of monster.
Mhm.
But the feeling is that it was received as monstrous.
Okay.
We might have a newer interpretation in the 21st century, but then let us first analyze the three parts, the monstrous three parts as they were then taken. The first part is how Eliot refutes Wordsworth's poetry, Wordsworth's definition of poetry, and establishes his own
concept.
theory of poetry, where it is not the personality which matters, but it is the impersonality. The second portion of the essay is about the importance of tradition, where he makes clear what he means by tradition, taking the concept of historical sense, showing the importance of tradition, and throwing light on honest criticism. And then moving towards the third portion, he concentrates on the importance of poem rather than the importance of the poet. This is how the essay is divided into three parts.
Okay, ma'am. So you talked about certain key concepts. Now let us look at the key concepts available on our screen. That this essay or T.S. Eliot speaks about, denounces the romantic criticism, importance of tradition, the death of the author, historical sense, what is an honest criticism, and later on, that is not the part of this essay, but later on he spoke about objective correlative and dissociation of sensibility. So friends, today our key focus is these key concepts. I think we have to discuss each concept in detail so that we can understand Eliot properly and thoroughly. Now let us go back to our prior presentation, that is how he denounces the romantic criticism, what is the importance of tradition, how he announces the death of the author, is it a physical death or something else, what is historical sense, what is honest criticism, what is objective correlative, and what is dissociation of sensibility. So first things first, ma'am, will you please talk about denounces, how Eliot denounces the romantic criticism?
Yes, Dr. Mehta. It is believed that when Eliot is writing about the escape from personality, he has Wordsworth's definition of poetry, where the romantics, that is
Believed.
Wordsworth and Keats and all of them, believed that
poetry
poetry
is
is
a
an spontaneous overflow of powerful
powerful
feelings, which is recollected in tranquility. But Eliot, by saying that it is not turning loose of emotion, but it is escape from emotion, and it is again not expression of personality, but an escape from personality, we can very well discern that Eliot has Wordsworth's definition in mind, and where he feels that self means the self of the poet has to extinct his personality and every time become or take a new form. And this is how he believes that emotions and feelings, they cannot be transferred from the poet's mind straight away to the mind of the reader. He has to extinct his self, and this is what he means by self-sacrifice, or the poet's personality is to be dissolved, and what then emerges is the objective personality of the poet. And this is how he feels that it is not turning loose of emotions, but an escape from emotion. And the moment he escapes from emotions, that is his own narcissistic feelings, that poetry can really become universal. And this is how Eliot believes that it is not turning loose of emotions but an escape from emotion.
Okay, very truly you said that what is the concept of romantic criticism about poetry and how Eliot spoke against that concept, particularly the concept given by poet Wordsworth.
True.
Now, the second concept we are supposed to discuss about is importance of tradition. In literal meaning, tradition has something to do with imitation or following our ancestors or something else. So, would you please give your opinions about importance of tradition?
Yes, as Eliot has put it in his essay, he has done both the things. He has explained what is tradition and he has also mentioned what is not tradition. So, by tradition, he means that it is the best of the poet that receives the effect or the influence of his predecessors in the most rigorous manner. This is tradition for Eliot. I repeat, for the benefit of the students, that according to Eliot, tradition is that the best in the poet which receives the influence of his predecessors in the most rigorous manner. Having said that, Eliot goes on to explain what is not tradition, which is very important to understand what is tradition.
Yes.
So he says that it is not mere imitation, it is not mere adaptation, at the same time, it is not something that can be inherited. If a poet wants the tradition, he has to work very hard, he has to do labor for it.
Okay.
And
so we can acquire the tradition with a great toil.
yes, to receive tradition is possible, but it cannot be done through mere adaptation and imitation. It is not something that can be handed down to someone. For that, they have to work very hard and they have to labor.
Okay, so Eliot's concept of tradition is slightly different than the verbal meaning. Nowadays, we interpret tradition as mere imitation of our ancestors, but Eliot just focuses on different aspect of tradition.
Yes, it is a fresh view of looking at tradition, a new perception, we can say, which takes into consideration the historic sense.
Yes,
Because
truly.
tradition cannot be understood without the awareness or the understanding of historic sense.
Okay, so you just directly jumped to the concept